solutions, and in particular growers, in supporting our involvement in Project Catalyst over the years. I'd also like to thank Department of Agriculture and Fisheries for their considerable investment in development of the Feed Online tool. So I'll be going through some of the key changes and benefits of this new tool that we developed over the last couple of years. Hopefully everything will work. Okay, so I guess as Project Catalyst growers, you'd be all too familiar with the challenges faced when adopting a new technology or looking at a management practice change. There's aspects such as improving your agronomic outcomes, like soil health and production, and there's also the other aspects such as environmental outcomes, particular Project Catalyst, improving water quality outcomes, reducing the amount of sediments, nutrients, and pesticide lost off farms. Our role and what we focus on in ag economists, and also really important, is looking at farm profitability. So how do we measure farm profitability? And in addition to that, how do we consider some of the risks involved with adopting a new practice or looking at a new technology? So a bit like the man on the screen here, farming, for those of you farming, you appreciate the fact that it involves many juggling of things at once to manage your farming business. It's often quite complex to actually be able to isolate out a change and the impact of that change across the farming business. It's quite easy for us, if you're managing the farm, to get concentrated on the particular impact of a certain item, point where we needed to do something about this tool to bring it forward and make it still usable for industry. So we moved to an online environment. It was a 2-year project. I guess when we thought of shifting it to online, it sounded easy to do. But once we started getting into it, there was a lot of time involved. And we collaborated with a group called GP1 programmers to actually help us do the programming in behind the scenes. As part of that process, we also formed a FEAT working group with stakeholders across Queensland to actually help guide the project and provide us feedback on the project throughout the process. They also participated in reviewing the tool as well at the end of the project. We also undertaken a survey of existing FEAT users, so there's quite a number of existing registered FEAT users in the old Excel form in industry. We did a survey of the users to find out what they thought was good, what they thought was bad with the tool, and that also helped guide us in our project. We did a review of existing tools in agricultural industry, so we just didn't focus on those in cane, but we looked at all different types of economic decision support tools across different agricultural industries, and we looked at what worked, what didn't, and it also reinforced to us that FEAT is unique in its offering within the sugarcane industry, and it's fit for purpose. So some of the big things is in really focusing on improving accessibility and usability. For those of you who may have used a FEAT XL version in the past, the registration process was quite clunky. You had to generate up a registration number, you had to send an email off to DAF economists, we then generated up a password. So growers or industry advisors or researchers who are using the tool can actually guide themselves through the tool, and they know what areas of the tool you need to fill in next. Any updates that we put through, and I'll talk about some of the updates that we've done or going to be putting through recently in the near future, are instantly accessed by our FEAT users as well. There's no having to try and get another downloaded version of Excel or people not knowing about changes occurring. So in terms of maintaining version control, it's also a lot easier as well. So there's many other new features which I'll go through shortly and explain a little bit more detail. But I guess the real beauty of FEAT is you can actually assess management practice changes or adopting new technologies before actually making financial commitments. So it adds to the ability to make improved decisions when you're looking at those sort of changes. So hopefully this will work. When we launched FEAT Online last year, it was unfortunate that we had COVID-19 come out at basically around the same time. So it limited in terms of what sort of promotion we could do. So we created a short YouTube video just detailing the benefits and what the purpose of FEAT Online is. So I'll just try and go through that now, and fingers crossed it'll work.
We have developed a free tool to help sugarcane growers measure profitability of farming system changes. FEAT Online, a farm economic analysis tool. Users are guided through the 7 main steps for each scenario. There is a simple login process. The homepage explains what the tool can do. You can create a new scenario or use a pre-filled regional scenario. See a detailed summary for your cane enterprise. Capture the growing of different fallow crops. Data entry is straightforward. Compare scenarios by examining the profitability of adopting new management practices. FEAT has been developed to help you to make better decisions. It's free. Sign up at www.featonline.com.au.
Can't believe it, it actually worked for me, so that was great. Usually something goes wrong. Okay, so that was a short overview of Feed Online and the YouTube video that we developed. I'll just go through now a little bit more about the benefits of Feed Online and what we've improved in terms of the transition to an online version. So I guess with all decision support tools, there's always a general rule of thumb that I use: rubbish in, rubbish out. So if you don't put good information into it, you can't expect good information out of it. The beauty of FEAT is that you can actually tailor it to your own farm. So you can enter in data that's relevant for your own farming enterprise. And that's really one of the key reasons why we designed it, because you can look at general information that's around, that's great, it'll help you inform and sort of get you interested in maybe a new technology or a management practice change. But at the end of the day, you need the information to be specific for your own farming enterprise. So with FEAT, you can develop it up for your own specific farming enterprise. You can factor in farm-specific production data. You can seek agronomic advice as well from service providers, which can help you provide information if you work with certain people on your farm to help you develop up your FEAT scenario. The other thing we've developed is what we call regional example files, and these are now embedded within the online tool. So regional example files were developed with regional specific information for major sugarcane growing regions across Queensland. So it's got preloaded data already entered into these files, which is generic information developed for that region. So we've done that in consultation with agronomists and extension providers in each of those regions. So we've got files for Tully, Burdekin, Mackay, and also we just developed one recently for Bundaberg as well. So they're really there as a starting point for anyone wanting to use FEAT to start off with that, and then you can modify it to your own situation. Another big improvement is the ability to share scenarios. So within the tool, you can see I've highlighted the area in a red circle. There's an icon that you can click on. That opens up a dialog box, and within that you can enter another FEAT user's email address, and you can share a scenario with that FEAT user just by clicking that icon and another button. So, for example, an agronomist might be doing some work on their farm and wanting to look at the costs. They can share it with the farmer, or vice versa. A farmer can share it with the agronomist or even with another farmer. So as long as they're a registered FEAT user, you can share it. It also generates up an email and it sends it out to that user, notifying them that you've shared a FEAT file with them, and that if they wish to access the FEAT file, they need to log on to their account. If they're not an existing user, it will still notify them, but they need to create an account before they can actually access that file. The reporting has also improved substantially. So previously in a FEAT XL version, if you wanted to compare 2 different options within your farming business, you needed to develop up 2 separate Excel files and actually bring up those Excel files and manually write down the key performance indicators. Now moving forward to the online version, you can basically compare different farming options with just one click. You basically checkbox the different farming scenarios, you hit compare, and it brings up a key performance indicator report. Things such as farm gross margin, production costs, break-even production costs, farm operating return, return on investment figures are all generated when you do that report up. As I mentioned before, some of the key benefits of FEAT is actually testing different farming options. Up on the screen at the moment, we've got the legume crop growing cost page. So with the new online version, we've incorporated the ability to be able to enter in multiple legume crops within 1 year. And you can also look at different fallow length periods up to 2 years out of cane as well. So you can use it not just for cane, you can look at other crops in rotation with cane as well. Machinery entry data is also a lot easier to do now. We've streamlined the process and how you enter that data into the tool, and we've also got another new little neat feature, which is you can enter in your machinery width pass as either rows, number of rows, or metres. So down the track, if you want to look at a different row spacing, you can actually change it to the row width that you want in one single cell, and it'll update the row width across all your machinery sheets as well. So it's not having to repeat those entries again. So there's many different things you can do with Feed Online. Quite often we have growers ringing us seeking advice on how to do that, and we're there available to growers to give them support. Some of the common questions we have is around machinery contracting costs. So in FEAT, you can actually go into the machinery contracting cost page. It's designed really for obviously sugarcane machinery items such as disking, rotary hoeing, ripping and so forth, but you can use that to look at contracting costs. There's the ability to look at irrigation systems. So that's more of a complex scenario, but FEAT can handle simple or quite complex decision making. And there's many more options. For example, you might be looking at leasing a farm. How is that going to impact on my profitability? Where is the impacts going to occur and how do I measure that? Might be buying another farm, expanding. So you can do large farm scenarios, for example. So you can do this before you actually go and commit the financial money to that. These are just some of the questions that Project Catalyst growers can look at when using Feed Online. If you take home anything from my talk today, it's also about understanding the risk when looking at a management practice change or adopting a new technology. FEAT can help you do that through a number of different ways. You can either create multiple scenarios, looking at changes in input costs, looking at changes in production, looking at changes in capital costs, so you can all incorporate that into multiple scenarios and see how that impacts on profit. There's also sensitivity tables included in the program for both sugarcane and other crops. The other thing I just want to reinforce is that Feed Online is really designed to help complement your farm management and how you manage your business. There's also other information that you receive, which is also very important. Information you receive from your suppliers, your local agronomists, your accountant, your banker, for example. So FEAT's there to help complement all those other forms of information to help you make a better decision. So I guess, want to blow our trumpet in terms of some of the new updates that are coming out soon. One of the big ones which we're about to release towards the end of March is updating the irrigation module within FEAT. So currently the irrigation module is fairly simplistic within the current FEAT program, but the new irrigation module that we're going to be putting out will have new features such as the ability to analyse pumping costs individually, the ability to incorporate multiple water sources, and also incorporating some of the new tariff structures that are currently in play. So that's quite a big task. Again, it sounds simple when you talk about something like this, but it's quite a big task, and that's going to be finished in the next month or so. Other features that we're updating is the reporting aspects and also the visual look of the tool, and there's other things that we're doing that will be pushed through in the next update as well. So as Project Catalyst growers continue to explore and adopt new farming methods, it's important to understand the potential impact on your farm profit. There's other aspects that I mentioned before around social, environmental impacts and agronomic impacts, but of course when we're operating a business, profit is critical in terms of maintaining sustainability of the business. So Feed Online can help you with this. We've also put up a couple of grower testimonials that we've gotten, so we've received some pretty positive feedback from industry and also growers. We haven't had a chance to widely launch the tool yet, and I'll talk a bit more about that shortly. So accessing the tool is really easy. Just go on to www.feedonline.com.au. You can set up an account. We're also looking at rolling out training workshops in April, May this year across the major regions within the sugarcane industry. So keep your ear open for those. If you wish to register interest, you can go on to the FEAT registration at DAF or queensland.gov.au, or you can talk to one of your local agricultural economists and I'll put your name down. So thank you for your time and have a great conference.
Thank you very much, Mark. Does anyone have any questions for Mark about his presentation and FEAT Online? Hands in the air? Nope. I just want to remind you, on the table in front of you do have these flyers. On one side you'll find information about FEAT. On the other side there's also some information about the agricultural economics. And there's some case studies if they haven't already gone. There's quite a few put together on your tables if you'd like to read through them, thanks to the DAF economics team. I see Tony Bajay as one of them and quite a few more recognisable names. I'll hand it back to Jason.
All right, thank you, Kim. So, yeah, good work, Podge. It's the first session after lunch is always the hard one. So, you know, like I get how hard it is to do all this stuff online and create these databases, but we've got an expert up next. We've got Sarah Bennett, who's going to be talking. Is Kim, are you coming up as well? Yep. They're going to be talking about a local area. I need my glasses. Local Area Nutrient Datahub project. Thank you, Kim.
Have you taken the clicker? Jason? You did take the clicker. Sabotage. Right, thanks very much, Jason, and thanks very much for having us here this afternoon. Feed Online was actually a really interesting presentation for me, and I hope that you'll see there's actually a lot of compatibility between the platform that we've developed and the platform that you've just heard about, and particularly pleasing that it's online, so we might have to talk about some integration down the track. So I just wanted to first start by saying I do support the Blues, and I am from Sydney. Thank you for giving away my secrets. And there is a really good reason why I'm involved in these projects, and I'll give you a little bit of backstory in a minute. But I first of all wanted to just go through my thought process when I looked at the topic for this year's forum event, which is adopting a decade of innovation and securing our farming future, as well as the enduring goals of Project Catalyst, to understand long-term solutions that assist more farmers, to discover innovative uses of equipment and IT, and to challenge current technologies. Now, they might have particular meanings to everyone here, but for me it really stood out how common these goals are across many industries and not just agriculture. My background, as I said, is not in agriculture, and it's actually not also in reef protection. However, I've spent many years working across different industries in the pursuit of using good data and good systems to improve accessibility of information that's critical to strategic and tactical decision making. So I will give you 30 seconds now to explain how and why I became involved in Liquiforce's water quality projects as it relates to the logic that is behind the LandHub data platform and our GBRF water quality projects. And I do think it's worthwhile appreciating how that same logic has been applied successfully in other industries. A few years ago, I led a series of projects within the Greater Launceston Transformation Project, so at the other end of the East Coast. It was part of the federal government's Smart Cities, Smart Suburbs program, and our projects included developing a virtual 3D model of Launceston to transform the way that decisions were made about development, developing a set of key principles to improve decisions about technology investment for the region, and an assessment of how intelligent digital city assets could be used to improve response decisions by the emergency services. Now, the common thread here is the selective use of good data, and selective is really, really important. The selective use of good data and the creation of relevant digital assets to improve critical decision making by a multitude of stakeholders. That's a complex task. And these are parallel goals to the ones we've set ourselves with LandHub and also our Reef water quality projects. On the face of it, I appreciate they may seem like motherhood statements. Everyone is seeking to use data to make better decisions across all industries. But in the rush to adopt the next piece of enabling technology, which we fondly refer to as chasing shiny things, what's often still glossed over too many times is a thorough analysis of why and what, if anything, is actually missing from the decision-making process. So before I lose you all, when I learned of the approach that Liquiforce had taken in designing LandHub, I was really impressed that they'd started with the bottom-up approach and really defined those key questions that needed to be answered by growers and agronomists in order to make farming decisions. Mapping the questions out results in a structured understanding of the information requirements. The information requirements that are required to make optimal decisions to improve farm productivity and profitability. Then they took a top-down view to consider what data and information was already available. Was that data and information being readily accessible, though, in order to answer these key questions? Yield trends, soil test history, farm block layers, fert and pesticide rates, type, history, topography of the farm, rainfall, and so on. So this led them to contemplate what we call the missing middle. Now, experienced growers have, of course, been making good farming decisions for decades. So you may argue there's no missing middle. The grower fills that gap. And while nothing replaces the importance of going back to basics and implementing good practices for sustainable coastal farming, growers and agronomists were regularly suggesting to Liquiforce that there had to be a better way to make all that disparate data more readily accessible as and when it was needed, whether that was at the desk or in the paddock. And it had to save growers time and money. There had to be a way to actually make good farming decisions more easily. So off the back of suggestions from growers and agronomists, Liquiforce followed this structured thinking process, bottom up, top down, to design an information platform to make farming decisions easier, saving growers time and money and ticking the BMP box. That tool is called LandHub, and it was conceived and built from the ground up by people in the industry for the industry. So LandHub was designed to help fill that missing middle, to support growers and agronomists, giving ready access to key soil and farm data and access to algorithms and insights required to generate farm nutrient management plans based on 6 easy steps to help drive productivity and profitability on farm. In essence, we're enabling growers to understand the cause and effect of their farming decisions and realise the asset value of what is actually the grower's intellectual property. Now, if we go back to the structured thinking diagram, it'll be of no surprise to anyone, and in fact it was said in the previous presentation, that junk in, junk out, and the better the information that's presented to the decision maker, the better those decisions can be. So ideally, growers have got access to both good data and good information and a system of aggregation that enables them to make that data really, really useful. But the big question is, at what cost? And that's the segue to our Great Barrier Reef Foundation water quality projects and the real purpose of my presentation today. The Mackay, Whitsunday and Lower Herbert water quality programs are funded, as you probably well know, by the Australian Government's Reef Trust and the Great Barrier Reef Foundation. The programs are aimed at improving the quality of water flowing from the Pioneer and Plain Creek catchments and also the Lower Herbert catchment by reducing the amount of dissolved inorganic nitrogen into the reef's waters. Now, we were awarded funding because we have a solution that not only is a catalyst to change to help growers in their business, but it also is one that delivers a benefit to the reef. So the fundamental principles of our projects are to improve the decision-making capacity of growers in these regions, to improve the quality of information required by a multitude of stakeholders, and whether that's the farmer, the farm business advisor, the agronomist, the agribusiness suppliers, or even regulators. And to achieve these goals with greater ease and at far less cost to the grower. And of course, as a result of 1, 2 and 3, enable practice change that results in an enduring reduction of DIN flowing to the reef. So, how will we do this and what's in it for you? We've got funding for about 30 growers from each region to participate in these projects, and they will receive a multitude of benefits. A subscription to land for the duration of the project, including access to the Land Hub Grower app and all the benefits of your farm information securely stored and digitised and available at your fingertips. An optimised farm nutrient management plan based on 6 easy steps, updated each year as required. And it's worthwhile noting that our aim for these updates is that they're done in part by the grower to help reduce the cost of maintaining the NMP process. You'll get 5 visits from a professional agronomist over 2 years to help you make the most out of your nutrient management plans. EM mapping of your farm, drone-based spatial data capture for accurate farm block layers and accurate crop boundaries and management zone overlays. A $2,000 incentive payment to help drive practice change that can be used for capital purchases. 10 further soil tests to enable you to better understand the variability across your farm in your soil's biophysical attributes. And note that these 10 extra soil tests are in addition to the ones you'll already be doing under the mandatory regulatory requirements. Drainage models, vegetation indices looking at crop health variability, a series of education sessions, shed sessions on a range of topics that I'll go through in a minute. And also in the lower Herbert, participating growers will get access to variable rate application at below market rates. So growers are going to benefit from participating in these projects in really practical and meaningful ways, regardless of whether they're liquid or granular fertilisers, or whether they employ surface application or subsurface application. And that's a really important point to note, is that while Liquiforce is running this project, hand on heart, we're actually trying to really make a difference to the reef waters, and we've got a range of growers of using all different types of fertilisers in our program. So land not only produces an optimal 6 easy steps nutrient management plan for each grower, which is tailored to the region and to the specific farm, paddock and soil lab data inputs, it does provide secure, private and digital storage of all your farm, soil and production data year on year, enabling easy long-term monitoring of crop and financial performance over time. And that allows a far greater understanding of underlying agronomic issues and solutions suitable to your farm. So I'll just show you a few examples of the sort of information that you get in Land Hub. So these are just some of the dashboards that you get as a result of all your data being put into your secure profile. You get your crop class breakdown, farm nitrogen use efficiency, down to the block level, the block nitrogen use efficiency, all of your soil lab test results, and we are incorporating up to 5 years worth of soil test history. And then drone imagery, which is used with the aid of the agronomist and the professional support that you receive to understand crop health, paddock variability, and of course crop boundaries. So the process begins with a kitchen table conversation with our project team, and we assess your interest and suitability for participation in the project. Each participating grower then has a unique profile created in the Land Hub platform where all of their soil test history and farm metadata is uploaded. And when I went through the benefits, you would have noticed that there's a whole bunch of new data that's been captured. That data is then uploaded into the land profile. So we're building a really robust collection of information that's going to help develop the optimal nutrient management plan for your farm. Growers are also fully supported at no cost for the next few years with access to numerous shed sessions, ongoing agronomy visits and on-call support with using Land Hub. So the idea behind this is to really enable the growers to extract the most value from their farm nutrient management plan and the practice change measures that are employed. So just to give you an idea of some of the shed sessions and the topics that we'll be covering, we'll start with the basics of how you'll actually benefit and achieve productivity and profitability gains by participating in these projects. We'll discuss the connectivity issues in the two regions and how that may impact grower ability to adopt agtech and leverage emerging technologies. Understanding crop health using drone imagery. There'll be some professional agronomy sessions that run through what is a nutrient budget and how can you actually use it in a really practical way to help manage your farm. Sessions on EM maps. There'll be more working sessions to help you actually use the Land Hub platform, whether you're in the field or in the office. Overviews of drone deploy and how drone imagery can actually be used to help manage all aspects of decisions on farm, and we can talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Benefits and practical issues associated with variable rate application and so on. Now, topic 2 in the list does refer to a supplementary element of our water quality projects, which is an assessment of the comms and network barriers that are faced in the regions. And we'll be looking at some practical opportunities that might be available to growers to overcome some of these challenges. And growers will be able to discuss their very specific network constraints and receive some feedback on some practical solutions. In the Mackay-Whitsunday area as well, we've also engaged Catchment Solutions to measure actual water quality changes on farm at select sites to track the changes in DIN resulting from on-farm practice change. So at the end of the day, Land Hub has been built by a family business in Ingham who are actually invested in growers in the region doing well. They also know that getting good farm data, while desirable, can be costly to growers. So these water quality projects have been set up in Mackay-Whitsunday and the Lower Herbert to cover the cost of getting more good farm data, to cover the cost of using that farm data to generate optimal nutrient management plans, and to cover the cost of having professional agronomy and extension support over a number of years to make the best use of those plans and to drive practice change and productivity on your farm. And of course, to drive water quality outcomes off farm. So if you'd like to have a look at a demo of Land Hub, or if you want to discuss participating in one of these projects, do come and find us in the break. But in the meantime, I've got Don Pollock, one of our project agronomists with me, and Kim Scott, who's the lead on our Land Hub development here, to answer any questions.
Yes, so has anyone got any questions? You've covered it all.
You got off easy.
One question that might be in the mind of some of the growers is their data, my data, my IP, where is it, where's it held, what's the insurance that it's on a server in Russia, something like that.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the server and where it's... Yeah.
So one of the key attributes we had to design into this was obviously how we collect the data, where it's stored, how secure it is, and how accessible it is as well. So all of the entire system is based on Amazon Web Services, so a very secure environment, the same that the Australian Defence Force used for a number of applications in the Australian Government. And the management of the data is very much all your data, unless you give explicit consent in relation to sharing a component of that or piece of that data with an agronomist or a supplier. So the key attribute that we've architected is to make sure that you're always in control of your data, and it's always your data.
In relation to where are you at in the process? What's there? Where have you developed to? What do you need? What have you got to do?
Right, so we're at the process, the kind of core part we had to fix first was collecting all of the relevant data from all the different sources. So from soil test data through to soil maps, accurate block definition of exactly how many hectares that particular block is and what constitutes a farm, how all that structure is put in place. That part is all done now. So we're getting to the point, we're now at the point where we're now applying the, across the crop cycles, what's our crop selection, our product selection in relation to fertilisers, all the way through to basically producing a nutrient management plan. And in parallel with that, we're doing all of the drone-based imagery. So that's collecting all the geospatial data. Where was the soil test? What was the blocks that a soil test relates to? And then we're mapping all of that data together, so all this geospatial data fits together. So obviously one of the biggest issues in this space is that everything changes. So what's the definition of a block or a farm, or what soil sample relates to what block? So we're going through that whole process now of all the geospatial relationships between elements, and then how that gets mapped so you can see all that information in a much more visual format than the traditional spreadsheet or printout or those types of things. So we're at that space now. Do you want to add anything? And obviously all the 6 easy steps for the different regions as well. So we're calculating that through, depending on your region, and all those other variables to make sure that that data is accurate, and we're at that completion stage now.
So more related to where does the farming come into the picture?
What do you want to answer?
Do you mean in terms of inland or with respect to the projects?
Project or development, where are you at in actually rolling it out to actually be a benefit to the farm?
Yeah, a terrific question. So these 2 water quality projects are actually our rollout of the land platform, and priority access to the platform is being given to participating growers. So we've got, I think I'll give away our numbers here, but we've got, I think, 12 growers in the Mackay-Whitsunday region that are in our water quality program to date, and just a bit less than that ready to roll with in the Lower Herbert. So those growers will have the priority access to the platform.
And the other question is in relation to the them and us, core group, early adopters, and what about the rest?
Yeah, well, we're very much looking forward to the rest, and if it's not appropriate or there's you're not interested in being part of the actual early rollout through the program, then in about 8 months' time, I think, Cameron, will be rolling out to the rest of the growers. And you don't need to be then a project participating grower to have access to the platform.
You're not in the vertical. Is there a reason? Or I missed that?
We will be. So we don't have a water quality project funded by the Great Barrier Reef Foundation in the Burdekin. Where's Robert? We were unsuccessful. Cost effectiveness, just due to the actual DIN runoff in the regions, meant that it was we had a very, very strong business case for our project in the Lower Herbert and the Mackay-Whitsunday, but the same project wasn't as strong due to the I guess the differences in the regions. I don't know if that answers your question, but we didn't receive funding and we tried.